100. They return to the land of the East. 5 sages become perfected. Let us not say anything more about how the 4 pilgrims departed by mounting the wind with the Vara guardians. We tell you instead about the multitude in the life-saving monastery at the Chin village, who rose at dawn and went at once to offer fruits and other food to their benefactors. When they arrived at the space beneath the tower, however, they found that the Tang monk had disappeared. Thereupon all of them hunted everywhere, but without success. They were so upset that they did not quite know what to do except to wail aloud. We have allowed a living Buddha to walk away. After a while, the entire household realized that they had no better alternative than to pile all the food and gifts on the altar up in the tower and offer them as sacrifices along with the burning of paper cash. Thereafter they made 4 great sacrifices and 24 smaller ones each year. Moreover, those who wanted to pray for healing, for safety on a journey, for the gift of a spouse, for wealth or children, and to make a vow, appeared daily at every hour to present their offerings and incense. Truly, the gold censer continued 1,000 years' fire. The jade chalice brightened with an eternal lamp. In that condition we shall leave them. We tell you now instead about the 8 Vara guardians, who employed the second gust of fragrant wind to carry the 4 pilgrims back to the land of the East. In less than a day, the capital, Chang'an, gradually came into view. That Emperor Taizong, you see, had escorted the Tang monk out of the city 3 days before the full moon in the 9th month of the 13th year of the Jingguan reign period. By the 16th year, he had already asked the Bureau of Labor to erect a scripture watchtower outside the Western Peace Pass to receive the holy books. Each year Taizong would go personally to that place for a visit. It so happened that he had gone again to the tower that day when he caught sight of a sky full of auspicious mists drifting near from the west, and he noticed at the same time strong gusts of fragrant wind. Halting in midair, the Vara guardians cried, "Sage monk, this is the city Chang'an. It's not convenient for us to go down there, for the people of this region are quite intelligent, and our true identity may become known to them. Even the great sage Sun and his 2 companions needn't go. You yourself may go, hand over the scriptures, and return at once. We'll wait for you in the air so that we may all go back to report to Buddha. What the honored ones say may be most appropriate," said the great sage. "But how could my master tote all those scriptures? How could he lead the horse at the same time? We will have to escort him down there. May we trouble you to wait a while in the air? We dare not tarry." When the Bodhisattva Guanyin spoke to Tathagata the other day, said the Vara guardians, she assured him that the whole trip should take only 8 days, so that the canonical number would be fulfilled. It's already more than 4 days now. We fear that 8 rules might become so enamored of the riches down below that we will not be able to meet our appointed schedule. When Master attains Buddhahood, said 8 rules, chuckling, I, too, will attain Buddhahood. How could I become enamored of riches down below? Stupid old ruffians. Wait for me here, all of you. As soon as we have handed over the scriptures, I'll return with you and be canonized. Idiot took up the pole, Sha monk led the horse, and pilgrims supported the sage monk. Lowering their cloud, they dropped down beside the scripture watchtower. When Taizong and his officials saw them, they all descended the tower to receive them. "Has the royal brother returned?" asked the emperor. The Tang monk immediately prostrated himself, but he was raised by the emperor's own hands. "Who are these 3 persons?" asked the emperor once more. "They are my disciples made during our journey," replied the Tang monk. Highly pleased, Taizong at once ordered his attendants, "Saddle one of our chariot horses for our royal brother to ride. We'll go back to the court together." The Tang monk thanked him and mounted the horse, closely followed by the great sage wielding his golden hooped rod, and by 8 rules and Sha monk toting the luggage and supporting the other horse. The entire entourage thus entered together the city of Chang'an. Truly, a banquet of peace was held years ago, when lords, civil and martial, made a grand show. A priest preached the law in a great event. From golden chimes the king his subject sent. Tripitaka was given a royal rescript. For 5 phases matched the cause of holy script. Through bitter smelting all demons were purged. Merit done, they now on the court converged. The Tang monk and his 3 disciples followed the throne into the court, and soon there was not a single person in the city of Chang'an who had not learned of the scripture seeker's return. We tell you now about those priests, young and old, of the Temple of Great Blessing, which was also the old residence of the Tang monk in Chang'an. That day they suddenly discovered that the branches of a few pine trees within the temple gate were pointing eastward. Astonished, they cried, "Strange! Strange! There was no strong wind to speak of last night. Why are all the tops of these trees twisted in this manner?" One of the former disciples of Tripitaka said, "Quickly, let's get our proper clerical garb. The old master who went away to acquire scriptures must have returned." "How do you know that?" asked the other priests. "At the time of his departure," the old disciple said. He made the remark that he might be away for 2 or 3 years, or for 6 or 7 years. Whenever we noticed that these pine tree tops were pointing to the east, it would mean that he has returned. Since my master spoke the holy words of a true Buddha, I know that the truth has been confirmed this day. They put on their clothing hurriedly and left. By the time they reached the street to the west, people were already saying that the scripture seeker had just arrived and been received into the city by His Majesty. When they heard the news, the various monks dashed forward and ran right into the imperial chariot. Not daring to approach the emperor, they followed the entourage instead to the gate of the court. The Tang monk dismounted and entered the court with the emperor. The dragon horse, the scripture packs, pilgrim, 8 rules, and Sha monk were all placed beneath the steps of jade, while Taizong commanded the royal brother to ascend the hall and take a seat. After thanking the emperor and taking his seat, the Tang monk asked that the scripture scrolls be brought up. Pilgrim and his companions handed them over to the imperial attendants, who presented them in turn to the emperor for inspection. "How many scrolls of scriptures are there?" asked Taizong. "And how did you acquire them?" "When your subject arrived at the Spirit Mountain and bowed to the Buddhist patriarch," replied Tripitaka. "He was kind enough to ask Ananda and Kasyapa, the 2 honored ones, to lead us to the precious tower first for a meal. Then we were brought to the treasure loft, where the scriptures were bestowed on us. Those honored ones asked for a gift, but we were not prepared and did not give them any. They gave us some scriptures anyway, and after thanking the Buddhist patriarch, we headed east, but a monstrous wind snatched away the scriptures. My humble disciple fortunately had a little magic power. He gave chase at once, and the scriptures were thrown and scattered all over. When we unrolled the scrolls, we saw that they were all wordless, blank texts. Your subjects in great fear went again to bow and plead before Buddha. The Buddhist patriarch said, when these scriptures were created, some Bhikkhu sage monks left the monastery and recited some scrolls for one elder, Zhao, in the Sravasti kingdom. As a result, the living members of that family were granted safety and protection, while the deceased attained redemption. For such great service, they only managed to ask the elder for 3 pecks and 3 pints of rice and a little gold. I told them that it was too cheap a sale, and that their descendants would have no money to spend. Since we learned that even the Buddhist patriarch anticipated that the 2 honored ones would demand a gift, we had little choice but to offer them that alms bowl of purple gold that your Majesty had bestowed on me. Only then did they willingly turn over the true scriptures with writing to us. There are 35 titles of these scriptures, and several scrolls were selected from each title. Altogether, there are now 5,048 scrolls, the number of which makes up one canonical sum. More delighted than ever, Taizong gave this command. Let the court of imperial entertainments prepare a banquet in the East Hall, so that we may thank our royal brother. Then he happened to notice Tripitaka's 3 disciples standing beneath the steps, all with extraordinary looks, and he therefore asked, "Are your noble disciples foreigners?" Prostrating himself, the elder said, My eldest disciple has the surname of Sun, and his religious name is Wukong. Your subject also addresses him as Pilgrim Sun. He comes from the Water Curtain Cave of the Flower Fruit Mountain, located in the Aulai country in the East Purva Vidya continent. Because he caused great disturbance in the celestial palace, he was imprisoned in a stone box by the Buddhist patriarch and pressed beneath the mountain of two frontiers in the region of the Western barbarians. Thanks to the admonitions of the Bodhisattva Guanyin, he was converted to Buddhism and became my disciple when I freed him. Throughout my journey, I relied heavily on his protection. My second disciple has the surname of Zhu, and his religious name is Wu Neng. Your subject also addresses him as Zhu 8 Rules. He comes from the Cloudy Paths cave of Fuling Mountain.